Hello everyone, it's Christine here and we're back for our stitch along and we're continuing with couching. So last time we did the couching running writing and then I also just stitched this contrasting version of couching below it, and we're going to do a couching bow this time. Now the book does a rather complicated bow which I will show you using pure silk ribbon. Now I know a lot of us hoard our pure silk ribbon, so I'm going to show you a version that doesn't sort of require all the little pins, because these are all individual little applique pins that are pinning it down, but it's basically going to take the concept of laying down some ribbon and then putting some French knots over it to essentially couch or anchor it in place. But if you did want to do this one, you can see that they suggest you draw a sort of a wiggly outline of a bow, and then you shape your pure silk ribbon, and you need a very fine and bendable sort of ribbon to achieve this effect. I'm just going to use a standard, just a little nice narrow ribbon I had in my ribbon stash. So the first thing we need to do is tie a bow. So I've just put a little knot in the middle, and then I'm going to make my job a little bit easier by using a needle just to skewer the center into my mat, because I find it hard to tie a bow in the air. So you might want to try this as well if you struggle with bow tying when it's all sort of hanging in the air. Okay. So you can sort of have your loops as big or as small as you want them to be. Just mainly want mine to be sort of nice and even. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'll just tighten it up a smidge, and then I guess I'll have it sit like that, or will I put it above and have it hanging down, and then maybe just have or I could have the bits going across like that. Yeah, maybe I'll make my loops a smidge smaller, a smidge. That's a Christine sort of measurement. Okay, and then we'll have the ends go across. Now I don't know if I will need to just pin it a little bit. Where am I better? Looking where my nice good pins are. Not sure where my little applique ones are, so we'll just have to see if this will work. So we want it about center, ing, somewhere above the C and the H, I guess. I don't want to use up too much space because we've got a few more couching stitches to go. So maybe I'll actually bring it down even further, pop it about here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'll probably just have to get an initial stitch into it to hold it in place, because the needle's not working particularly well. Yeah, you would need really fine, if you were doing that other technique, the good little sharp applique pins would definitely be needed. So let's just get our bow looking the way we want it to, and then I might just put in an initial stitch. So I've got a contrasting, I'm going to use contrasting blue for my French knots, which are going to anchor it down, and I might just start by putting a stitch in to hold it in place in the center. So feel free to use pins if you want to, but otherwise you might want to just do a stitch like I'm going to do, just to get it started. Okay. So I guess we need to probably do a French knot maybe at the end of each of these. So again, I might poke my thread through first of all, and then I'll take myself through the ribbon. Like that, and then we can do our French knot. So So I think I'll just do a single loop French knot to keep it simple. And then where are we coming out? I want to make sure I take it back down approximately where we had it coming out. So with a French knot, you're just holding on to your thread as it pulls through to keep that tension and get that nice little French knot in place. So that's going to hold it there. And then we can, if we want to make that loop a smidge smaller, well, that's not that side, we can pull that one a little bit. And that will just give us a nice little size and still give us some room to run our thread down here. But I might do the other side loop first. So I might come back to the center and I'll do a little French knot, if I can, through the center area. We'll see how we go. Might need to bring the needle up first and then position it where I want it. So I might just bring the needle round here. So we'll do one wrap and then poke it back in, and hopefully it will behave and go through. Hopefully we won't get ourselves trapped on the other ribbons. There we go. There's a little French knot at the center. Probably didn't need to have that initial little knot in the ribbon at the center either, but it's okay too. Might put another little French knot there as well if I pop up through the center again. And I'll put another little French knot in and take it down this way this time, if I can. I need to push a little bit on my surface just to get the needle through, and then again just holding the thread. There we go. So that's anchoring our center down nicely now and holding our second loop where we want it, and then we just need to position a little one wherever we want the side of this loop to kind of be. Might put it about there, take it through the ribbon. Not catch our other ribbon, my goodness, it's hard when you've got various fibres going different directions. Okay, so I've got that loop. We want to do our little French knot. So holding our thread as we pull it through to get our little French knot there. And then that loop's just slightly bigger, so I might even just do a little holding loop, a little tricky stitch at the center just to shorten that loop a smidge. So I'll just take it back down here. And that'll just help to, might even be able to do one more little stitch there to do that. Which will just shorten that loop and make it more even with the other side. And then we can lay the ribbon over the top. So then the next place would be to pop out somewhere about here and to catch our ribbon then. So yeah, if you were using a silk ribbon, you'd be able to come sort of straight through it, but with this it's a bit easier to pop through first and then pop through the ribbon. Fabric first and then ribbon. So doing our French knot. And just before we pull it through, making sure we're not catching our ribbon. There we go. And then we might want to just sort of angle it along this direction, I think. See if we can come up through both at once. There we go. Doing our French knot. And we'll just carry it along here, I think. So pop up at about an equal distance along. Back down into the fabric. And we'll just keep carrying it along here. Just come back from the park with Travis. Still a grey day here. Oops. Okay. Oops. Always make sure before you're finishing pulling through that, yeah, you've not got your ribbon caught. Maybe one more, just so it sort of extends out to about the distance that the other thread is at. So yeah, I've not actually couched something down with French knots before, I don't think. Done regular couching quite a lot. But yeah, just good to have this one in the repertoire. And I think it's quite nice with the contrasting, because if it was in red, you'd probably almost not be able to, yeah, see the little French knots. Okay, do we need one more at the end? Maybe one more. Okay, and then we'll just cut it off on an angle, so hopefully it won't fray. Or we could just put a tiny bit of glue on the end as well if we needed to. Okay, so we'll bring our needle, rather than just running a long thread at the back, we'll just sort of whip around the stitches at the back, which will bring our thread back to the center, and then we can work our way out there. Or you could tie it off, obviously, but I'll just keep it threaded, because hopefully I'll have enough thread to go most of the way. So we'll do our first one down approximately where that one, and that one had a little bit of, we left a little bit of space in it. So we'll do one down about here. And then we'll just continue along, popping along. It's definitely a lot easier when you're on the straight. So I hope you're having a great day or a great evening. Hope you're getting some crafty fun in. great thing about these is they don't take too long. I know this video will probably end up about the sort of 17-minute mark, but 17 minutes and have a new stitch, a new little technique down, and have something pretty to add to your little sampler or your dictionary of stitches or your treasury of stitches. It's going to be so much fun to start putting it all together. I was just having a think about whether I put a thicker fleece batting between the pages or a thinner sort of interfacing. Just got to investigate some options for that. But it's going to have a lot of stitches, so I'm thinking I probably shouldn't make it too thick. Okay, so maybe 2 more, I think, and then we'll be done. Oops. Or is that actually maybe... I'll put 1 more in and then I'll trim it off, that's fine. Okay. And then we'll trim it this direction to match the other side. There we go. So that is our couched down ribbon, and again you could make it really fancy if you had a much finer ribbon that would actually, a pure silk ribbon that would be a lot more meldable, but that's a fun little technique. Looking very cute, this one. Very Frenchy chic, I reckon. So I hope you enjoyed that. Tomorrow we are moving on to couching Bokhara. So again, I'll be working it on this single couching piece. So look forward to seeing you then. Take care, everyone. Bye.